So we will go ahead and get started, and I'm going to get rid of my little box. Bye. Okay, legalizing adult use marijuana in Missouri. The campaign. Thank you for volunteering to help give Missouri citizens access to adult use marijuana. Your dedication is crucial to our success. Nearly 3 years after Missourians voted with almost 67% support to legalize medical marijuana, our campaign wants to give voters the opportunity to legalize marijuana for adult use in 2022. A citizens ballot initiative was filed on August 27th by Legal Missouri 2022, a statewide coalition of activists, entrepreneurs, cannabis patients, and criminal justice reform activists with the goal of providing a fresh start to tens of thousands of state residents whose criminal records would be wiped clean of low-level marijuana offenses. There's finally widespread support among our voters to regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana, and now is the time for Missouri to join the 19 other states that have successfully regulated and taxed adult use marijuana, bringing millions in new funding for vital state services. Now that the petition has been approved by the Secretary of State, we have begun collecting the nearly 172,000 valid signatures needed by May 8th, 2022. Residents of Missouri have the power to propose legislation as a constitutional amendment on the November 2022 ballot by collecting enough valid signatures in at least 6 of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. If the signature threshold is reached, the measure goes on the ballot. If the ballot language receives more than 50% of yes votes next year, the measure becomes enshrined in the Missouri Constitution and it is enacted. The outcome of the campaign will largely depend on the availability of volunteers and existing marijuana facilities to effectively gather approximately 100,000 signatures. The initiative. Now we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty. Adult use. So this is key elements of our language. Adult use allows Missourians 21 years and older to possess, purchase, and consume and cultivate marijuana. Expungement creates automatic expungements for Missourians with non-violent marijuana-related offenses. Small tax to crucial programs. 6% retail tax surplus is split equally between veterans' health care, drug addiction treatment, and Missouri's underfunded public defender system. Public safety maintains prohibition on public use and driving under the influence. Violent offenders and those whose offenses involve distribution to a minor would be ineligible for expungement. Medical dispensary conversion. Existing dispensaries could quickly convert to serving both patients and adult consumers, reducing illicit market sales. Local opt-out allows local communities to opt out of adult use retail marijuana through sales through a vote of the people. New business licenses adds a minimum of 144 new cannabis businesses to the existing 380 licensed and puts Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services in charge of licensing and implementation. Constitutional amendment prevents legislator from gutting the initiative after passage. Rules for signature collecting. So be sure to get out your pencils and paper and take some notes. Basic eligibility requirements. To ensure that your valuable time and efforts are not wasted, please familiarize yourself with the following rules for signature gathering and be sure to review these instructions thoroughly before collecting signatures. Signatures gatherers must be at least 18 years of age. Only registered Missouri voters may sign the petition. If they are not registered to vote, they can do so at the Secretary of State's website. That is listed right there. It will take about 2 weeks for the state to process newly registered voters before they are able to sign. Move this little box. So here's some very important tips. And over here on the left-hand side, we have a copy of our signature page. So it's important to remember 1 county per page. Signatures of voters from each county must be on a separate page. Signatures of voters from counties other than the one designated in the upper right-hand corner, so right here circled in red. Signatures of the voters from counties other than the one designated in the upper right-hand corner of the page will not be counted as valid. So if you have Jackson County right here, and you have people signing from Clay County, that will not be valid. 1 county per page. Be sure to have a separate petition page for each nearby county and some blank ones in case somebody from another county wishes to sign. For example, I live in Platte County in Kansas City. So right next to Platte County, we have Clay County, we have Jackson County, we have Cass County. So when I train volunteers in Kansas City, I usually start them with at least 4 or 5 petitions because you're going to come across registered voters from all of your nearby counties. Be aware that St. Louis City is a separate county and must be on a different page than St. Louis County. St. Louis City, separate county, and must be on a different page than St. Louis County. St. Louis City, St. Louis County, very important. Leave the page number space blank. So that is what's right under the little red circle. It says page number, you leave that blank. Registered address, circled again here in red. The address on the petition sheet must be the address at which the person is registered to vote on the day they sign the petition. So if they recently moved, but they have not changed their address to vote, then they need to put their old address. So whatever address is current that day that they sign, that is what they need to put. The signer must list a residential address. Signers should leave the congressional district space blank. So that is this other little circle right here that says congressional district, you leave that blank. So we have address right here. And then right next to the address, you have zip code, and then congressional district, you leave blank. Make sure that each signer fills in all of the requested information. So they have to sign first, they date, and it has to be the date that they signed. They can't put yesterday's date or tomorrow's date. It has to be the correct date. Their address where they are registered to vote, zip code, congressional district, leave blank, and then print their name. We do not use ditto marks. Those will not count. Those will not count as valid signatures. Official name and signature. The name and signature should be that which the signer uses on official documents. So for example, like they sign their driver's license. So it needs to try to be an official signature. Each person can sign the petition only once. If someone cannot remember if they have already signed, go ahead and have them sign, but be aware that they cannot sign the petition again. Communicate that to them as well. Well, if you're not sure, go ahead and sign again, but you can only sign once. If they sign again, it'll be invalid. It is illegal for anyone to knowingly sign the petition more than once or to sign for another person. So up here, there's a little star and it says, do not use blue or black ball, or use only blue or black ballpoint pen, and do not make any marks except where indicated. We'll go into that a little bit more coming up. You must sign and date each petition sheet in the presence of a notary public after the signatures on the sheet have been collected. So when you get your blank petition, the only thing you should fill in is your county up here. Everything else you leave completely blank. This middle part is for your signers, your registered voters who you're asking to sign. And down here, that is only to be completed in front of a notary. because you have to sign stating that you witnessed all of these signatures. It is extremely, extremely important that only you are in charge of this petition. Only you witness the people that are signing this petition. You cannot leave your petition with a friend and have that friend go gather signatures. You cannot, if you're working at a permanent signing location, I would suggest when you get off work, you have the manager on duty lock up your petitions in a safe, or to keep it in a management office, locked up safe, because those are your petitions and you cannot have anybody else in charge of those petitions. Signatures dated after the notary date can cause the whole page to be deemed invalid. So if you have signatures that the dates are not in the right order or that are dated before you notarize, though that whole sheet will not count. You are attesting that you personally witnessed all of the signatures on the page, so each petition must belong to a specific petitioner. So if you're going out with a bunch of friends, collecting signatures at an event, and you're afraid they're going to get mixed up, I would suggest getting a Post-it note, a sticky note, and putting it on there with your name, because you cannot make any additional marks on this petition page because it will invalidate the whole thing. General petitioning rules. Oh, I did forget to say one thing. Let's see if I can go back. Hope I can. In the notary section, there's also a part that says check that you do not expect to be paid. So if you're notarizing, you need to make sure you're filling out this little box. It's right over here within this little red box. So make sure it's completely filled in. So general petitioning rules. Please do not make copies of the petition page. Each petition page is an official legal document. Only originals are accepted. When you get your actual blank petitions, you will see the petition page is on top and the rest of it is the initiative language. That all has to be attached together. You cannot detach any pages. Everything must stay together. There's Chris at amendment2consultants.com that you can email if you're running low on petitions. Blue or black ink only. All signers must use blue or black ballpoint pen. Signatures made in pencil will not count. Make sure you have extra pens with you. You must personally witness each signature, so do not leave your petitions on a counter or bulletin board unattended. That is not acceptable. You have to witness each and every signature. No leaving it just on a table. Only fill in specified information fields. Do not write anywhere else on the petition sheet, make any unnecessary marks, cut the petition, or take the pages apart. Please do not do that. Sorry, my dog's gonna be naughty. Do not use whiteout if there's a mistake. Excuse me. Do not use whiteout. If there's a mistake, draw a single line through it, but do not white, black, scribble it out completely. Election officials want to see the error. Have the signer initial small corrections or start over for bigger mistakes. So not an issue if somebody puts down their wrong address or fills something in wrong or anything, just one single line through it, have them start on the next line. You have the right to collect signatures on public property. So outside of public libraries, courthouses, city hall, or public sidewalks surrounding a theater, sports, concert venue, shopping districts, etc. One of the best places to gather signatures is outside of concert venues. If there's a show and there's a line of people to get inside, that is where you want to be. You just walk up and down that line and ask people if they want to sign. And we'll go into that a little bit in a minute. Alert the campaign staff if you need to report any behavior that you feel is harassment. Do not argue with a police officer. Do not argue with anybody. Have an extra petition available so people can read the complete language of the measure if they'd like, while allowing you to continue to gather signatures from others. Do not give them a petition with signatures on it, as they may walk off with it. Please do not alter, correct, clarify, or obscure any information that a signer writes on the petition. Common reasons for signatures to be deemed invalid. Signatures from more than one county are on a petition page. Signer is not a registered Missouri voter. Failure to circulate, to sign, date, and notarize petitions. Failure of circulator to sign, date, and notarize petitions. Signatures are dated after notary date. The information is insufficient, eligible, or ambiguous. Petitions are marked, defaced, or something has been whited out. So before we end, I do want to go over a couple other things. So when you're approaching people to ask them if they're interested in signing, I always like to say, are you a registered voter in Missouri? That is always what I say from the get-go. Let me see if I can get myself there. Okay, there. So that's what I always say from the get-go. Are you a registered voter in Missouri? Very important, because if they're not a registered voter, then you know that they're not going to sign. You don't want them to sign because it's going to be invalid. So are you a registered voter? Yes, I'm a registered voter. That's fantastic. Are you interested in legalizing adult use marijuana in Missouri? That's usually the next thing I follow up with. I always recommend for people to take time, review the language, and find something that they are passionate about in the language. This has some great automatic expungement. It has great patient protections. It has parental protections. So it has a lot of great components in it. Pick one that you're passionate about and, have that be the one that you try to sell. You might have people who are on the fence and, tell them about the expungement piece. Tell them about some of the patient protections that are in there, whatever you're passionate about. The next thing you ask, if they say they do want to sign, is what county are you registered to vote in? Because that will tell you which petition sheet you need to get. If they are from a random county and you don't have a sheet that has that county on it, go ahead and use a blank petition and just go ahead and start a new page for that county. That's totally fine. We do not argue. So if you have someone that is completely against this, it's not really the best time for it to be a teachable moment. We don't argue. We don't try to change anybody's mind. However, there are people who want to be informed, that want to be educated, and you can tell them more information if they're on the fence. If you tell them information and they're still on the fence, tell them that signing this petition does not necessarily mean that they support this measure, but they believe that it should be up to Missourians to make that decision at the ballot. And if you say that 8 times out of 10, they will sign it. That is always a very good last little ditch effort, and it works. I guarantee you it works. So remember to be neat. Make sure when people are signing, tell them to be neat. That is okay. You can tell them that. Let me see. I think that is everything. So we send out some emails weekly that will have some events that you can go to gather signatures at. I always recommend, if you're a new petitioner, to start with your friends and family. Start with talking to them about it. That's how we always break the stigma anyway, is talking to our friends and family. So we're more comfortable talking about marijuana as medicine, marijuana for adult use. We really break down that stigma. So bring it to your friends, bring it to your family. If you have a supportive work environment, you can bring it into work. And this way you're comfortable, you're working with people that you already know. When you go out to gather signatures at an event, I recommend you go out with a friend, partner up, make it fun. I mean, you're going to be meeting and talking to all sorts of just great people who are going to be supportive. So have fun with it. And that's all I have. So I am going to escape and I'm going to see if I have any questions.